Hello and welcome to our video for Update 1 through 3 steering teams. This is the Achievement Goals Update. My name is Amy Siegel and I'm the Vice President here at ASA, and I'm joined by
Tina Wiseman, and I'm your Strategic Planning Specialist, and hopefully only a phone call or an email away. Okay, today we have several things we're going to cover dealing with achievement goals. And so for the month of January, these are things that need to happen. We're going to be looking at the achievement goals format, your pre-discussion tasks, your council discussion, student body discussion, your post-discussion tasks, summary of this month's work, and then of course looking ahead.
So first we're going to just remind you about the achievement goals format. There are some changes that we've made in our system and we're going to go over those. But we want to just remind you that the basics remain the same. We're going to use a basketball metaphor to do this. So our focus area, remember focus areas are broad. And so our focus area in this case is to win more basketball games. If we were looking at achievement data, it might be to increase our graduation rate. And then our focus area would be supported by SMART goals. And SMART goals are very specific. SMART goals are things like increase the percent of free throws made, increase the percent of three-point shots made by starters. That one includes a student group. It talks about our starters. Increase the number of assists made by second string players. Again, we're getting into student groups and very specific tasks. So the same thing would hold true if we were talking about achievement data. We'd want to get into student groups. We'd want to get into very specific subjects and standards from our achievement data. The more specific and laser focused those SMART goals are, the better, but your focus areas remain broad.
We're going to talk about some pre-discussion tasks, and please keep in mind that this time this submission must meet criteria before you have the discussion, and that of course is updating your achievement data. And I'm hoping that a lot of you followed through last spring, when your teachers were entering in grades, and just give them the forms for their classroom and have them go ahead and fill in the information that you need, and then during the summer you can do data entry. So if you haven't, of course, always go to your tech person on your school management system. You want the latest data that you have, and that would be the spring of 2019. So hurry and get that updated as soon as you can.
And now we're just going to look at council discussion. Our agenda for this, we have a special note for TSI schools. Tina's going to go through that. We're going to do the council discussion presentation, so you'll see exactly what they're going to see. And then I'm going to show you the online discussion tools.
Okay, for your TSI schools that are listening, any TSI identified subgroups must be included as a focused area. So wherever you received a TSI designation, you need to make sure that they're a focus area. So while the TSI schools may choose to identify additional focus areas, you're only required to address the focus areas aligned to your identified subgroups. So if you're a TSI school, you may have to do a little alphabet describing here to your council that help them understand what TSI is and then how it works, and why you're having to do what you need to do.
Okay, so we're going to start the council presentation. Welcome to the council discussion for Achievement Goals Update. I'm Amy Siegel, and I'm joined by...
I'm Tina Wiseman, and I work with the schools as a strategic planning specialist and just general helper.
So today's big question is, given who we are now and our new student achievement data, what adjustments do we need to make to our goals?
Okay, lots of questions to answer on this one. With part one, we're going to review the updated achievement data. And you're going to be talking about what pleases you, what disturbs you, what achievement gaps exist between student groups, and what gaps exist between your school's vision statement, remembering it's a bold, lofty dream for all kids, and the current data. So to complete part one, you're going to first review your school's achievement data report and vision statement. And if you are participating in this discussion online, you'll find a link to the report near the top right of the discussion page in the instructions. And there again, just as a reminder, this vision statement is a vision where no one bumps their head on the ceiling. So it is extremely lofty. It may never be reached, but it's something that everybody can strive for. So you're going to contrast that with your current achievement data for your school, and then start looking about the gaps that exist between the two. Part two lists each goal, and under the goal, you'll indicate if a goal should be continued or omitted, and if any revisions are needed, if it is to be continued. Part three, you're going to be adding new achievement goals if needed. And there again, you can use the format described. And then part four, any additional thoughts. And of course, that's just optional. But if you see something that you want to remark about, or you see something that, connecting the dots and all of that, that maybe just come right to you, but a lot of times we're studying this data so hard we can't see the obvious. So feel free to put in any additional thoughts in this part.
And just a reminder, all of those questions are below the video that you're probably watching right now. So you'll just scroll down, and you just want to make sure that you do answer every question down to part 4, which is optional. So after today, your steering team is going to review the discussion. They're going to organize your suggested goals into focus areas. So the ones that you said you want to keep from last year, and the ones that you wanted to add for this year, they're going to organize those into focus areas. And the focus areas are just broad areas where we can group together those goals. They're going to recommend the goals for the coming year. So they'll take all of the feedback that they receive from you and from the student body and put that into one report. And then they're gonna, the other thing to know about that is that your steering team is getting instruction on state requirements and things that they have to do to turn in a successful school improvement plan. So there may be some things that they have to tweak to make sure that that meets all the expectations from the state and federal governments for educators. So after they do all that, they're going to send out the goals for the coming year, their recommendation, and they're going to ask the council for consensus. And what that'll be is where they just want to know, can you support these goals the way that they're written? And if you can't, you should get back to your council and let them know so that they can make a revision and try to work out a set of goals that everyone can support. If you have questions, please contact your school's council discussion point person. If you're watching this video online, then you'll see the name and phone number and email address of your council discussion point person right above this video. We want to thank you for your time. We know that it is time consuming to go through the amount of data you're being presented, to go through the vision statement and to do the work that you're doing. But we also know that our councils are very committed to this work because it's what's best for kids, and it's making sure that all viewpoints in your school community are represented in your school improvement plan. So thank you very much for your time.
It's well worth it, a good investment.
Okay, so we'll switch back over to our presentation. And we're going to go look at the online system discussion tools. Okay, so this school, this is one of our demo schools. We're in section 7, and you'll notice that step 6, where I would open my council discussion, step 6 is unavailable because I have not had my achievement data approved. I just wanted to point this out. When we say that that pre-discussion task has to be done, it really has to be done. You cannot open this discussion until this has been approved. So Tina, if you could go and approve my achievement data report.
Alrighty.
Now above that, you'll notice that we have 3 things for you to distribute. If you can get these out ahead of time, it could be really helpful to your council. Those are the vision statement, the achievement data report, and your current achievement goals. So the goals that were in your plan from last year. So getting those out in printed format will save them some time and trouble. It's usually easier for folks to deal with paper when they're going through the achievement data report, just because there is so much. We encourage people to circle things and make notes. And I know Post-its come in very handy on that report. So have a look at that and consider getting that out to your council in advance.
You're good to go.
Okay, so I'm going to refresh, and now we'll see that my step 6 is ready to go. So this works just like always. I click on the envelope to open my council discussion. I can, when I set up my email, I can also have an in-person discussion if we're doing that, or we can do the online meeting only. The online meeting is the default. As you probably know by now. You always do the online meeting in case there are people who can't make it to the in-person meeting. The in-person meeting, though, is optional. So if we were doing an in-person meeting, we would select our date, time, and location. For our school, we're going to say that we're just doing online. And then we choose a date that the online input will close on. And so we'll say that we're closing that on January 30th. And then I click send invitation. Okay, so as you can see, when this page refreshes, it lets me know that the invitations have been sent to people on my council, on our school improvement council. If I needed to resend any invitations, say that Steve Apple gave me a call and let me know he hadn't received his invitation, all I have to do is click the envelope next to Steve's name, and it'll resend the invitation. Going back to our process page, just want to remind everybody about the other tools for your discussion. As steering team members, it is really important for you to monitor the discussion. So we make it easy. Let's say that I'm Betsy Green. I can click my monitor button, and it'll ask me to to confirm my identity, and then I'm in the discussion. And this way, we just want to keep an eye on discussion, make sure that no one has said something inappropriate, or no personal attacks or anything like that. It's up to the steering team to really guide that discussion, and we want to make sure that you're seeing input from people too and encouraging that.
And please take attendance at the in-person meetings.
Yes, you want to make sure that you're taking attendance at the in-person meetings. If you're having it online only, the system does that attendance for you. Let me show you how that works. We go to, in step 7, we monitor, and the information icon is a report, and it shows you all your different groups from your school improvement council and how many of them have participated. So, we don't have a real council entered in here, but let's say that we looked at our teachers or our parents and we're seeing very low participation. We can email those council members who've not yet participated and just remind them that we need their input on this discussion and prompt them to get involved. If you are doing the in-person meeting, like Tina said, make sure that you get your attendance, because you're still going to need to, when you do your summary for your council, let's open that. Well, sorry, because I did the online discussion only, it's not giving me the, it's not requesting the counts. But if I had done this as an in-person meeting, it would ask me how many teachers, how many parents, just those basic groups. So make sure you have your attendance so that you can put that information in. without it, your minutes are not going to meet criteria. Okay, so those are the online discussion tools and offline discussion tools. If you're doing an in-person meeting, you'll have the slides from our presentation, and you'll have the documents that you need to facilitate that. Okay, let's move back to the presentation.
Alrighty. So now we're going to move on to the student body discussion. And you see, in this case, you really can't do anything simultaneously. It needs to be after the council discussion. So when you're setting up your calendars, make sure that this comes after the council discussion is all wrapped up. And here again, so many of you are doing such a good job with this. Include all your students. Don't get a smattering. It just will not give you good data. And the more data, the better. And I read all of these comments, and it is tremendous the amount of input that you're going to get. That if you do the same kids every time, or you just do a spotty little group, you're not going to get the benefit of this. So make sure include everybody. Okay, so here is the actual discussion prompt form that you can use. So you're going to use or add the goals that receive the most agrees during the council discussion, and then you're going to translate these into age-appropriate language. So remember, if you have kindergartners, it's going to be a lot trickier. One of the things that you want to be sure is don't make these highly identifiable. A lot of people just use color coding on the different groups. I would suggest that you not use blue for boys and pink for girls, because it's going to be a little obvious too. But just get it to where you have the key of what is what, and then just get rid of names and groups and all of that, and just color code or something that you come up with that you like. So then you're going to break the students into small groups and distribute the discussion prompt. Now, a lot of you have been doing a really good job with using like Chromebooks or something of that nature if you're one-to-one. And so many of you have been creating Google Docs. And so then the kids can just go in during their, in my archaic language, homeroom time or something of that nature. If you have that, they can be tuned right into it, do the answers, and it all feeds in. So you know how this is working, and it's working great. Then you're going to ask the students to review the goals being considered and check the goals they believe should be addressed by the school in order to help students become better prepared for their futures. And then you do give them a chance to discuss their options, or their opinions, and ask them to agree on 1 to 3 goals that they believe the school should address. And sometimes it's kind of interesting what they come up with, because it might be a little different from what happened in the council. So always interesting information.
If you're one of our Update 1 schools and you're doing the student body discussion for the first time and you're a little confused by all this, by all means, give Tina a call. She has seen the outcome from lots and lots and lots of student body discussions, and she can help you brainstorm some ideas on how to do this successfully with your students. I know some schools think that because they have elementary kids, they can't have this discussion, and I think Tina would agree with me that you're wrong about that. If that's what you're thinking.
Been there, done that.
That's right. Tina has facilitated this exact discussion with elementary students, so she will help you get some ideas together on how you could do this at your school. So, or if things didn't go well last time you did this discussion with your students and you're looking for some new ideas, please be sure to give Tina a call or shoot her an email. She's kind of our cross-pollinator of ideas from all the different schools.
Okay, so now we're up to the post-discussion tasks. So you're going to have your student discussion summary, the student body discussion summary. You're going to be updating those focus areas. You're going to be updating the SMART goals. Then you're going to have your council consensus point person seek consensus. You can use post-to-mail or email. Um, can all the council members support these goals? And then edit if needed, and then you'll submit for review. So this is the next phase.
Okay, so let's have a look at the online system. And we'll we'll start with updating our focus areas. Okay, so there are some changes to this since last time you looked at it. We gleaned off of the DOE's comprehensive needs assessment, just so we could align a little bit better with the way that they're thinking about focus areas these days. So the first thing that you're going to enter is a description of the gaps identified between the vision and the achievement data report. So we have added that question to the council discussion. If you're having an in-person meeting, you need to make sure that you ask that question too. You'll go just summarize that. It doesn't have to be super long, but we did give you a nice big text box. And this is something that you might not know. You can grow that text box if need be and have a little more room to enter that summary. So then you'll click, when you have this entered, you'll click Save. I am in as one of our demo schools, and this school is a K through 12, and it already had focus areas entered. So what we did, we've changed the format of how focus areas work, but we didn't want to take out your existing focus areas. So this is from the information you had entered before. We've got this as the name of the focus area. So let's just go in and look at the edit form on this. So this is how the focus areas used to be put together, the names. What you can do now is really just put in a short descriptive name for this focus area. So this could be all students passing math, since we're all grade levels here. It could be, if it's more specific to iLearn, all students passing math on iLearn. But you do want to be descriptive, but we are going to, also you're keeping it short. It's a title. Below that, we're going to have you put in a lengthier description. So this is where you can, use your words, get a little, describe what it is that this focus area encompasses. The next question you're asked is the specific achievement data that supports this. So the question here is, what leads you to believe there's a problem in this area? And we'd like you to include real data here. If you had an existing focus area that you're going to still be using, we kept in your achievement data for that. So you might need to edit, especially since we've moved from iStep to iLearn. It could be something where you're using iRead, all of those new assessments. It could be broad. And then we're going to ask, what are the key takeaways? So what are the key takeaways from the data collected for this focus area? And these are really just kind of your thoughts on, it might be like some preliminary thinking about what might be some of the root causes, or it might be something about, specific groups. It might be things that are going to become SMART goals, but they're just right now just kind of your broad thinking on the focus areas. And then below that, if you're an elementary school, you'll have this external expectation. If your focus area aligns with English language arts, you can check that off. If you're high school, you'll have graduation rate. If you're a K through 12 like this school, which is pretty rare in Indiana, you'll have both of these. But most of the time, you'll only see one. If it doesn't align, that's fine. I think that you need to have at least one focus area that aligns with these external expectations, just for Indiana rules and regulations. But it doesn't have to be all of your focus areas. So you'll make the changes needed to this, and you'll click Save. And then when you come back to your description or to your menu page, this area will update with your changes. Remember too that if you need to, you can always delete a focus area. So if this is not a focus area anymore, I can click the X, which is the delete button, and it'll ask me if I'm sure I want to delete this. It'll also say any SMART goals associated with this focus area will also be deleted. So I probably want to make sure, well, I have a backup of this in my SIP archive. This is a report that was in your school improvement plan for the current year. But just make sure before you click delete that you really want to get rid of all the SMART goals, that this isn't something that needs to be edited. It really needs to be deleted. So do that carefully and say okay. And you see now I only have 2 focus areas. Okay, so we'll go back to the process and we'll look at editing the SMART goals. So we put in, or we update our focus areas first, and then we update the SMART goals. So each of our focus areas, now we only have 2, are tabs at the top. So our focus area 1, and this will have the new name that we give it when we make that change. And then any existing SMART goals are listed here. So your council discussion and your student body discussion might lead you to make some changes to the SMART goals. You might need to add some SMART goals. Since we're also switching over to iLearn, there may be things we need to edit. But other than that, this works pretty much the same. We're asking for if this is a grade level, and then you can select the grade level. If it's a class, and we'll give you the classes. So if you're wanting to work with a cohort of students and follow them through, you can certainly do that. Or you can look at a particular grade level and their achievement. Then you can select the student group. It can be all students, or it can be a subgroup of students. You'll set the benchmark, so what it is we want to do in this SMART goal. If it's pass a specific reporting category from iLearn, if it's having a specific group of students increase their graduation rate, if it's whatever our SMART goal is for this. And then you'll put in any historical data that you have. So we give you years, we give you 3 of these, you can actually add more. So this is actual data. So if we're working with things like graduation rate where we have several years of data, or we might only have 2019 data. And if that's so, then we can delete the other years that are presented by default. Very important that you put in a target, and targets should be realistic targets. That's what we're looking for. We're not looking for your vision data yet. That goes in the next box, but we're looking for something that is achievable. And then again, the external expectations. If you're a K through 12, or I'm sorry, a K through 6 school, you'll see the SMART goals if they relate to reading, and just check those off as appropriate. Tina, do you have anything to add about entering SMART goals?
No, you're doing great.
Okay, great. So then you'll just make those, save those changes, and they'll appear on your screen. And we're going to head back to the process page one more time to just look at the rest of the steps. Okay, so we have, in theory, updated our focus areas. We've updated our SMART goals. Then we would want to review our achievement goals. And so we have this report, and I would say do this first as a steering team and just make sure that it makes sense to the steering team first, that we feel like, you know, it's enough SMART goals to really impact that focus area. And I'll say this school, looking at, you know, we have 3 SMART goals, I would be clamoring that this is not enough to really impact that focus area. So we want to be very specific with those SMART goals. We want them to be specific things that will, if we do these things, they will definitely make an impact on the focus area. So I would do that as a steering team before we do the next step, which is to seek consensus. Make sure that the steering team is on board with these, that we feel like we have enough, that we feel like we don't have so many goals that we're overloading, that we are losing focus. And then go out and seek consensus with your council. So you're going to be asking your council members, can you support these goals? Should hear back from them. Definitely give them a deadline when you need to hear back from them by. If there's dissent, it's something that you're going to need to address and send it out again for consensus. it's just that model where, you know, this is such a foundation piece. You want to make sure everybody can get behind this. If you need to, we've given you that edit for SMART goals again. That's usually the area that council members will ask for changes if needed. Once all of that is ready to go, then you can submit for review. Before you do any of that, though, it's always good to go over the rubric items and make sure that that your look over this has met the criteria. These are updated with new information from DOE, and they are tailored. If you're a TSI school, you're going to see a couple more than if you were not a TSI school. But always go with criteria ahead of time. It saves you time, it saves Tina time, it makes everybody a little happier. Is there anything else, Tina, that I should go over with these tools?
I don't believe so. I think it will come to them as they work through this. And so there again, they can always call or email.
Okay, good deal. Let's head back to our presentation.
Okay, so now a summary of the work. We're going to talk about the point positions responsible for work this month, and then the steering team decisions to be made now. Here's just kind of the calendar that we normally follow. This is for work this month with the achievement data that was gathered in November, and that we know that things don't always get done in the orderly manner that we like. So if you're still gathering, keep gathering. Get that done just as soon as you can. And there again, never be afraid to delegate. I'm sure there's people that will help you get this job done. And then your root cause data, you're going to coordinate your surveys, complete the self-studies, and that's pretty self-explanatory there. Again, if anybody has any questions about that, feel free to give me a call or an email. And then if you have council discussions and student body discussions, then which would be all update 1-3 schools. So in your council discussions, you're going to facilitate the discussions. You're going to have one that's going to bring the council to consensus, and then the student body person is going to facilitate the student body discussions. And you see those are ongoing, October through March, and you do have one now for January. And then the part that is ahead of us, then of course, after we do what we're doing this month, will be your intervention development. But for right now, work backwards. Make sure you get that achievement data all plugged in and submitted. We'll go over it, make sure everything's okay. One suggestion I make to people is when you're putting that in, it's easy to transpose numbers. And so some of your kids look like geniuses because you've got about 124% of them passing something. Very easy thing to do, so just kind of glance through it and make sure you're not too transposed. And then, of course, the root cause data, a lot of times that's just a matter of tweaking things, updating a few things. So the big thing right now are your discussions, but you have to have those other things up and running and in place. And when we talk about the steering team decisions that you're going to be doing, you're going to ask who will make sure the achievement data report met criteria. And then with your council discussion, it's going to be online only or also in person. If it's in person, please, please, please take attendance. When will it be? Who will open it? Who will monitor? Who will facilitate? And then who will enter the summary online? And don't forget, submit. Sometimes it gets forgotten. With your student body discussions, how will all the students be involved? Who will facilitate, who will summarize, and who will enter the information online and submit? And then when will the steering team meet to focus, or excuse me, to update the focus areas and SMART goals based on all these discussions? Then who will edit the focus areas and SMART goals online and submit? And then who will seek the council discussion, or excuse me, the consensus, and then of course submit after all is said and done.
So that's kind of your roadmap for your post video chat.
It's a big one this time.
Yeah, we hope it's helpful. There's a lot to do, but it is really your cornerstone of your school improvement plan. So we try to map it out very thoroughly so that you guys don't miss anything. Looking ahead, we just want to talk about the vision to action process that's usually taking place over second semester for our update 1 through 3 schools. So right now in January, obviously we're updating achievement goals. That will lead to then in February, the discussion for root causes. Those are the things that are keeping us from achieving those goals. In March, we'll be looking for interventions to address those root causes. And then in April, we'll be looking for preparations. What are the things that we have to plan out so that we can put those interventions in place and with integrity? And then after that, your plan gets approved, and whatever action you set up in the preparations, whenever that starts, then that will take place. And then because this is a cycle, you're always going back to current data and goals. Remember that your vision to action process is a cycle. So that's just the work ahead in a snapshot. We just want to make sure everybody's aware. All of these pieces build on each other. That's the other thing that you should take away from this. That if we get behind in January, then we're behind through the rest of the spring. And that can mean that we're working on our school improvement plan in May when we're also trying to deal with graduation and everything else. So we really recommend, if you can keep to this timeline at all, your year's going to go much better, and you're going to have more opportunity for input and buy-in from all of your stakeholder groups, and that's really important. Without that, your plan is hobbled from the outset. So try to keep to the timeline. If something happens, and we know things do happen, schools are dynamic places, give Tina a call and talk about how, what your plan is to get back on the timeline, or how the timeline will be adjusted at your school, just so you know, and she knows that everything is going to work out, and we'll have it all done before the drop dead deadline.
So if you need help, never, ever, ever hesitate. Get in touch. Remember, my hours are Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 8 until noon, and Wednesday 2 until 6. But the telephone is always on, and so is the email. So leave a message. Be as detailed as you can. That always helps with time. A lot of you, over the million years I've been here, I've got your school names and your names associated with them, that once in a while when you change out, get a new member, I have to go back and look you up and all that. So I guess this is me being lazy. If you can give me lots of information and tell me which school you're with, that always helps. And then that will save some time, and we can get right to it, and I'll get back with you.
Thank you all for watching the video, and thank you for all the work that you're doing. We know that this is no small thing, and we're here cheering you on, and we want to do everything we can to help you be successful in your school improvement planning.
We're always here for you. We got your back.